Welcome to the Impact Exchange, where real estate, leadership, and real estate financing meet with a little personality. I'm Jordan Thorpe.
And I'm Ronnie Esparza.
Every episode, we break down the moves, the money, and the mindset that help you navigate today's market with clarity and confidence.
All in a way that actually makes sense. So let's get into it.
Ronnie, first
Happy New
recording.
Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Well, we're back again with another wonderful episode of the Impact Exchange, episode number 6, prelim, buyers, and refis. Oh my.
That's going to be fun.
Here we go. You ready?
Yeah. I just noticed I probably shouldn't have done my hair, huh?
Suavecito over here. That's why I have mine off the
Suavecito.
back.
Yeah, I see that.
I have to
probably
record
give me
content.
those plugins, one of those.
I feel like I'm in Top Gun. Breaker. You know, I wanted to go into the military, be a fighter pilot.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm too tall. I wouldn't fit.
Oh, that's right. I'd have a panic attack.
I think it'd be fun. We all know I drive super slow, so
That's why I don't get in the car with you.
it'd be perfect. All right. So today what we're going to talk about, sellers. They're looking to buy another home. They have had their house. They've built some equity. They're going to sell in order to buy, use those proceeds as their down payment. They need another loan. We're going to tie in the prelim, why you need to work that ASAP, and some red flags we got to watch out for. So let's get into it. We set the situation. I call you up, say, hey, we have this client. They're selling this house. They want to buy it. We're going to order the prelim, get all the disclosures going. Let's look into it. So one of the biggest reasons that I'll open up a escrow with buyer to follow the second I get a listing sign is to work the prelim. Prelim is a legal document, talks about the legal description of the house, who the owners are, any debts against the property, covenants, conditions, restrictions, if it's in an HOA, tons of things. We could make it a whole thing on its own. One of the big things immediately we look out for is ownership and any sort of title fraud going on. So prelim is going to tell you John Smith is the owner, Susie Q is the owner. They own it as this. They hold title as this. This is how much they might owe. Now where it gets a little bit fishy, what if we see John Smith, Susie Q, and Bobby Sue on there? Well, if we're dealing with John Smith and who was the other person that I
Susie
said?
Q.
Susie Q, but the person before that.
John Smith, Susie Q, and let's just call him Jose.
Jose. Okay. We see Jose on there. I'm going to go back to Susie Q and John Smith and say, hey, who's Jose? Now, a couple of things that could happen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my uncle or my dad or one of a relative. We needed them to co-sign. Okay, cool. No problem. We'll circle back to that though, won't we, Ronnie?
Mm-hmm.
Where it can get really sticky. What if there's some title fraud going on? What if John Smith and Susie Q aren't even on there at all? But 5 years ago, they signed this piece of paper that someone came and said, oh, hey, I can help you. You can get money today, but you got to sign this.
Right.
Little sticky. So always on the lookout for those kinds of things, making sure that the owners are actually who they say they are. So we're avoiding any sort of last minute surprise.
How about where would someone get a prelim? Is that like your responsibility or on the seller side, right?
Yeah.
Or on the seller side, are you? Where do they find a title company?
So
Do you take care of that for them?
I have a title and escrow company that I work very closely with.
Okay.
And I always ask my clients, do you have anyone that you know that works in title or escrow that you would prefer to use? Some people say yes, some people don't know. Most of the time it's no, because this is such a new thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say, well, there's plenty of great ones out there. If you have any
Right.
that you would like to use, let me know. If not, I can recommend X, Y, or Z.
You know, I kind of sticking to that topic really quick. I've had a deal in the past where the buyer didn't want to use the seller's title company, can they change that at the request of the buyer?
So I'm pretty certain if a buyer is contributing any amount towards settlement with the title company, the buyer can choose
Gotcha.
which title company, which is why
That makes sense.
in my contracts, when I represent a listing agent, when I'm a listing agent and representing a seller, I'm putting in a counter offer, if they don't already acknowledge it, escrow holder to be this.
Gotcha.
Because once they sign it, they've acknowledged it.
Right.
So clarify that up front. But that's a good question. But yes, buyers can choose if they're contributing any amount. And it happens. It happens more often than not.
Yeah, I just had that once, but yeah, it was like you said, it was in the contract. That,
Yeah.
So they didn't. Obviously, they didn't make a fuss about it, but yeah, I mean, it is good stuff to know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about the tax liens and stuff like that. So that's what you look for on the prelim.
We're going to look at tax liens, amount owed, where they had their last mortgage through.
Mm-hmm.
That's still their current lender, because we always want to make sure everything's tracking. If they're paying to this person, we got to know that it's actually to that person and not some random. Other thing a prelim does is saves time and money.
Yeah.
Last thing we want in any transaction is a surprise at the 11th hour, and we have to start at square one. So by starting that early, getting all of the potential issues worked out before, your best bet. It's the easiest way to a solid transaction and happy transaction for both buyer, seller. And then it helps everyone involved too, because when a title company can come back and say, oh, well, we found this big issue, now we have to stop everything because let's say we need a court order. Mm-hmm. Well, in order to get that, you might have to publish. Well, that's 6 weeks that you have to take off from the transaction. And you have the buyer who wants to stay in the transaction. Their rate lock is only good for so much. Now they could be coming back saying, oh, hey, we want you to pay to keep our rate locked through all this time.
And it could get expensive.
It can get expensive.
It can get expensive, definitely. That I have had a few times happen where they needed to extend the rate.
Yeah.
So it does.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, it can cost you $2,000-$3,000 right off the bat, for an additional 15 days.
Yeah.
So
now, is that something that's paid up front, or is that rolled into closing cost?
it becomes a closing cost.
Okay.
Yeah, it becomes a closing cost. So it's just added.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
talking about money, we all know your forte is the money here, Ronnie.
I'm the money.
Judgments and
no, wait. I'm the wallet. He takes you shopping. That's what I tell him when, So, I mean, I'm the wallet.
I don't know. My nieces think I have ATM stamped on my forehead. So, yeah.
Yeah, my granddaughter don't do the ATM no more now. It's just, Grandpa, can you send me
Apple Pay me?
Apple Pay.
Yep.
She had to teach me. She took over on my phone. Here, let me take it. Give me access to your phone. Grandpa. Yeah. I'm like, how do you do that? So she showed me how to do it. And there I am sitting like that. And she's like, dum, 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 dum. How much should I put in there, Grandpa? Oh, how much you want? Oh, $50.
Bing.
Yeah. So now I know how to Apple Cash or Apple Pay.
Would you have it any other way?
No, actually, I wouldn't.
Me either.
She knows that she can always reach out to Grandpa.
Yeah. That's what we're here for. Like,
yeah.
I'm the fun uncle. Let me get you what your parents say no to. Judgments and liens. Those are going to show up in prelims too. And, you don't just need a prelim when you're selling a house. You also need it when you refinance your house too, because there's an escrow process that's opened up. So talk to us a little about what you see in prelims with a refinance.
So on the refinance, we do the same thing. We do ask them if they have a choice of title company. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I had it with XYZ," and I ask them if they want to open it with them. If not, then I also refer them to a couple that I've worked with in the past. But what I do is I do look up. I order the prelim, ask for a prelim. First, I start with a property profile. It just kind of gives me an idea as to how much their property taxes are, who's on title, and sometimes, like you said, Jose shows up.
Yeah.
Okay, who's Jose? Well, I think that's something that when you have cosigners when you first start, they have cosigners, and you definitely want to talk to them about the refinance, because I have had situations where the cosigner will say, yeah, I'll go ahead and sign off.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and sign off. But then at the time, at the time of signing, what happens is they say, well, it's going to cost you money. So
The cosigner says
the
that.
cosigner
Oh,
will
like
say,
they want money.
I want this, or I want X amount. And I've seen it happen more than once.
That's
with
a
family
grenade.
members. Yes. Now, that's one of the times that, it goes back and forth, back and forth, right? Same thing goes with ex-husbands or husbands, where they're separated.
dun.
Yeah, where they're separated, and they're going to live apart, because you can purchase another home and remove yourself off primary and buy your own home and legally not have to get divorced or separated.
Right.
You just live in separate homes. That is possible.
Not legal advice, folks. Not legal
Not
advice.
legal advice. But you don't have to. You can still purchase a primary home if you're moving out of the house and you're both going to raise your kids and you're not getting divorced or legally separated. Then at that point, it changes our conditions where we're able to allow you to purchase another home separately, as your primary. But you still have to have the spouse sign an interspousal, which I call it the California permission slip, where essentially, they have to sign it, that they have no vested interest. Well, I've seen it in that situation too, where husband says, hey, and that held up our escrow an additional 15 days. So we had to get that, extension, and that cost a little bit of money for the borrower. So on tax liens, I do look at tax liens on the preliminary title report. I've seen them where they're small amounts, they're big amounts, and the problem with having tax liens is once you pay them, it's also your responsibility to have the lien release, to get the lien released, because a lot of the times debtors will not remove the lien, not because they don't want to, they're just busy and they just don't do it. It's not a top priority. So you do have to actively, request the lien release from the creditor. In this case, the IRS, right? The other things that I do look for are mechanic liens. Mechanic liens are when somebody comes out and does work. Let's say a painter, you give them, half of the job amount,
Right.
and
You have a contract, so I'll pay
you
you.
didn't like whatever. You said, I'm not paying you. Well, he can put a mechanic lien, right? The contractor can put a mechanic lien on your home because you didn't pay him the rest of it. Now, that does accrue interest if they wanted to. That's a lien that a lot of people sometimes don't know that's out there. So, any time that you're doing work on your home and you're using a contractor,
Pay your bills.
Thank you. You said it. I did it. Pay your bill. You know what I mean? Whether you like it or not, because they can always come back and put a mechanic liens on your property. And at the time you sell or the time you refinance, guess what? You're going to have to pay it.
Yeah.
And 99.9% of the time, there will be interest on it. So that's one of the other things I do look at. The other things I look at are judgments. Judgments. You don't pay a credit card. Nowadays, they'll they'll do the lien, to put the lien on your house, and they'll leave it alone. They'll leave it alone because they know you're a homeowner, and guess what? You're going to
get their
refinance, or you're
money.
going to sell one of these days.
Yeah.
And they're going to get their money one way or another. So it's a lien. You owe it. Any kind of lien that's on the property, that gets placed on the property, you have to pay it when you refinance it or when you sell the property. Now, there is other things that you can do. If you have like a say you have a credit card against your house, right, that you use all the time, well, they'll subordinate, which means they'll continue to allow your first mortgage to be in first position, and they'll continue taking second position. But that's typically on open credit, home equity lines of credits or credit cards that are attached to your
Use
home.
your house as collateral.
Yeah, using your house as collateral. So
What could go wrong with that?
the big one that a lot of people don't see is child support. Where's that button at? We need to get a button that says dun dun dun, because that's what it is. Child support, dun dun dun. So child support is one of the other liens that also pops up, and I'll tell you what, Monterey County child support is not. They're very strict. So you're from Santa Cruz County.
They're strict here too.
So Santa Cruz County, Monterey County, child support, make sure that you're taking care of your child support, because if you have arrears, they will put a lien on your property. And again, when you sell or when you refi, that will pop up. Any type of other liens that you can think about are like
PACE
personal
liens.
loans, even.
Personal loans, or a PACE lien, the property assessment clean energy loans, PACE. So we see a lot of those with solar, where they attach to the property taxes.
Yep, solar.
And buried in the print was when this loan has to be fully paid off when you sell or refi. And it didn't necessarily have to be a refi with cash out. It was just any sort of refinance.
Straight refi.
So when you saw the mortgage rates really low in the pandemic era when we were like 2.93%, people were refinancing and they had PACE loans.
Yeah.
There was a lot of those surprises there too.
Yeah. Especially when they first came out. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
They were, and then getting a hold of the solar companies. Oh my gosh, that was the worst.
Yeah. And it was tough too, because a lot of people were jumping jobs.
Right.
So you'd get a contact at the solar company. You're like, yes, I've got one. I can get through to them. You'd call for your next transaction. Oh, they're no longer at this company. Start from square one.
That, or the solar companies went out of business.
Yeah. They were
Remember, there was a few
acquired.
of
They
them that
went out
went
of
out.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It
so
was a whole
hard.
thing.
But thankfully it's getting a little bit easier. But those are the things that I look at on a refinance, and really we both look at on a purchase or on a refi, because those are things that can hold you up from continuing with the purchase of your sale or finishing up your refinance. So,
Right.
and remember, if you're doing a cash out refi and you're pulling out 50 grand, and there's a lien on your property, say a mechanic's lien for 20,000. Well, you have the option of increasing your cash out if the loan to value allows for it, and the program allows for it, or you're going to end up getting, $20,000 less.
Not as much money as you think.
Right. So, and I think it kind of works the same way on your side,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where they'd
Any
have
sort
to
of
redo
surprises
a
or
net
debts
sheet or
owed,
something.
where we have to account for that on your net sheet. You might think you're getting $600,000 from the sale of your house, but you have an outstanding mortgage, you have a judgment, you have a tax lien, anything like that, it's deducted from it.
Child support, though, guys. Pay your child support.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I've seen some horrible situations with the child support and the cosigners.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, make
Talk to
sure
your
if you're
people.
refinancing. Yes, make sure if you're refinancing, even selling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Make sure that you're talking to your cosigner who helped you purchase the home.
Right.
Hey, this is what I'm doing, XYZ. Have them get off prior to you're doing the transaction, because it can get pretty ugly.
Right.
It can get pretty ugly. So,
Well, we've covered that. We're good. Again, folks, not legal advice, just two professionals staying in their lane and sharing our experiences with you.
yeah.
Ronnie, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Oh, the next episode is going to be a good one.
Stay tuned.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, that one. All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.